Okay, so I've not done it this way before, but I want you to say whatever comes into your head and just flow with the conversation now.
Oh, I love it. I'm down for this. It's funny. I was actually thinking about talking about what is the embodiment of my highest self this morning. That question was kind of circulating in my mind, so I'd love to share that with you.
Go on, do it, talk.
Yeah. So basically, so I was thinking this morning about how can I embody my highest self, especially during periods of time where we're going through so much change in the world. Um, and for me, what kind of came through my meditation this morning was embodying our highest self is allowing what is ever presentingly happening in the present moment, that we're honoring it and we're just taking one step forward in that moment. I feel like sometimes we like overcomplicate things so much as human beings. But that just really came through. And I was going through this morning on my walk, I was thinking about how could I um, embody my highest self every single day. And I think really like what it comes down to is just being present and just flowing into what feels good in every present moment. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I'd always worked for myself growing up, and I could just get up when I wanted, go for a walk, or when I wanted, come back when I wanted. I was so free, and then I got my first ever part-time job, and because I was walking around the restaurant all the time, I stopped going on my evening walks, and I loved them, and I didn't realize until I hadn't been going on my evening walks for months and months and months how shit I felt. Like it's incredible. It's as you said, it's a drug, it's medicine that you don't realize you're taking until you stop. And I stopped going on my walks and I just became stressed, angry. You just and like you get more tired. So I go into bed because I've been walking around all day, and I'll be too tired to walk. But it's not just the walking into the place where you meditate that's powerful. It's the energy you get. It's the energy that you need, not just necessarily walking and exercise, which is why I used to go on a walk. And I realized that when I meditate or I just sit on a park bench in the middle of nowhere, it is incredible. It does amazing stuff to your energy. Like, as you know, nature has a certain vibration different to city or trains and house and stuff. And it's only when
Mm.
you've been in that vibration long enough, you really know the difference to when you go back in a house. And it is phenomenal, the difference between being in nature and just going indoors. Like you feel the lights, you feel the TV, people, noise. It's just fucking. It's not supposed to be like that. And so, yeah, it's powerful. It's a drug, freest
It
drug.
is. It's so powerful. Well, and I find too, because our world is so predominant, and it's shifting now, but our world is more predominant in sort of the masculine energy, sort of that like active sun energy, the massive flow and like execution, like activity. Whereas nature is more in that feminine energy. It's that intuitive, sort of resting, calming sort of space. And I think because like we're so programmed to sort of operate on that masculine flow of energy, especially the way that it's been ingrained into us since we were little, honoring that feminine flow and connecting back into nature is like really, really essential. And I agree with you. Like Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, he talks about a moment where he sort of, I guess, like raised himself to a certain level of consciousness where he was just sitting on a park bench. And for the first time in his life, instead of just thinking about what he needed to be doing or thinking about what he had to do during the week, he was able to just be present. And he said he felt the most purest state of like bliss, just being in that moment and seeing people laughing and seeing the way that nature was moving and stuff. And he said that that was when like it was sort of that turning point for him in his level of consciousness and understanding. And I think that that applies to definitely what we're talking about too, just being in nature and going for walks and stuff, especially when you're starting to work. Being a teen and starting to work your first part-time job is not easy when you're starting to kind of just get used to that. Oh, I actually need to be doing something other than what I just want to do, like I'm being forced to work with other energies and stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What I found was when I did work, it was only like 3 years ago. So I'd never worked for anyone for myself. I went into a restaurant. They were like 16, 17, 18. It was like the job I should have done when I left school because I'd always worked for myself. I I'd never planned to get a job. So I went back in time by like 7 years and I saw what my life was like growing up 7 years beforehand, but I was living it present. But it's almost like if I was to go back to the old me and think, why did you have no friends? Why were you annoying? Why didn't you fit in? What would you do differently? I could then teach myself at present with all these 16, 17, 18 year olds, knowing the shit that they're going through and be the person that was liked. Whereas before I wasn't because I was working stuff out. Whereas when I was doing it, I could look back and be like, okay, why were you annoying? It's because you always went on and on and on. Don't go on. And so literally it was kind of like give me a second chance to heal my childhood. It really is fascinating how the world works. Yeah, so I find that, for example, when I meditate, if I don't plan to think about something, if you just meditate until you feel the urge to leave, things come. And like for example, last night I went on a late night walk meditation. It was 11 o'clock, right? I normally go to bed at half 11, but I've been in all day doing my Instagram and shit. Had to go out, and so I ended up getting back at
Mhm.
12:30. And it's like the later it goes on through the night, the more people are asleep, the less human energies are out. So the
Yeah.
more I can tune in. And I was used to work late at night, and I never understood why. And then somebody said it's because human EMF is down, which means I can penetrate easier. And it just made so much sense. And it just comes to you. Things come to you that they only come to you when your brain is in a state of silence for long enough. Like we're always thinking so much to do. Got to do this, got to do that. Always in the past, always in the future. So we're never just silent long enough for a thought to come in. Um, and as you were saying, I've forgotten. You talk.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you. I agree with you. And I think someone like myself who's been very like empathic a majority of her life, it took me a long time to really distinguish others' energies that I was feeling versus my own. And it was through like my practice with meditation and grounding. And to be honest with you, I actually utilize exercise as a form of meditation as well too. Like I really try to channel that extra energy and release it. And I find that that can be really pivotal if I do like this morning I went on a nice like long run out in nature, and then after I meditated, and just like allowing that excess energy to sort of be released prior to doing meditation for someone like myself who has a very active mind and imagination, it's been really beneficial for me in that way. But I agree with you in regards to the nighttime thing. I don't know about you, but I've been like during 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning, sometimes I'll actually fall asleep prior to that, but I find that if I wake up during those time periods, I'm wide awake, and I just have this like creative energy flowing through me that I want to like start doing stuff. I want to start writing blogs, I want to start reading. And I have to like I question myself sometimes like, oh, you probably should be going back to bed, but it's true, like the when everything's calm, it's so much easier for, especially when you are tapped in, to really really tap in and receive those downloads and communicate with your guides and things.
Yeah, so the higher brain activity, the more brain activity you have, the more energy you release. And the more energy you release, the more energy comes back. So it's this vicious cycle of charge. That's why meditation for someone like us with active brains is crucial. Otherwise, for me, I would have killed myself because I couldn't shut the voice up. And that voice is just brain neurons firing up. The more you think, the more they charge. The more they charge, the more you think. So yeah, meditation, I had Tourette's. Meditation healed it because meditation slowed my brain activity down, and the twitching and the swearing was frustration for my thoughts. Is there a fucking god? How can there be a god? You tell me he's up in the sky. What the fuck is it? You know? And like frustration and
Mm-hmm.
the twitching is just your brain muscle using so much energy connected to all the other muscles. That's what the twitching was. And healed my Tourette's in 3 weeks because of meditation. And it is so powerful. And yet it's like medication is what everyone goes to. Meditation is what people should be going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the higher energy you have, the higher the vibration, and it's almost like we can only penetrate on positive vibrations. If there's loads of negative vibrations out there, it kind of just swarms it all up. It's almost like
Oh yeah.
walking into sinking sand, which get drowned. So we can only kind of go out when the water is flowing, so we can actually move our legs. And the when people are in say the deepest part of their sleep, which is say for example 2 in the morning, that
Mm-hmm.
means your energy is now freer to go out there. It's like there's less negative energy at that time that our brains can now penetrate and bring back. Hence why, for example, like me, you suddenly become awake at 2 in the morning when all our parents are getting up in 3 hours. Um, and yes, and like people on the same vibration are also up at that time. Like my auntie, she's a night owl. She's up at like 3 in the morning, an active brain, and it's like if all the active people are up at that time, and because everyone else's negative vibrations and thoughts activities are down, that's why everyone else is always up at that same time. It's not a coincidence how, like Simon Cowell, he always goes to bed like 5 in the morning, and then he sleeps until 12 because his brain's active. And again, high energy, everyone's asleep. He's able to think because when you're in a room with people and they're thinking and their thoughts, that's draining you. That's taking away your ability to think. If someone's watching you, observing you when you're thinking, for example, you can't think. You've got a friend looking at you and you go, oh, fuck's sake. And she's looking at you. She's taking the energy away, like quantum physics. She's observing you. She's taking your charge away. So just imagine everyone
Mm-hmm.
else is observing everyone consciously, unconsciously. They're thinking about going out for dinner with you. Got to do this, got to do that. that's just energy coming and flying at you. It's taking away your charge.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it is. Oh, 100% it is. And growing up I grew up in a household where um, I definitely believe that I came through the ancestral lineage in my family to help heal a lot of things. And so for a majority of my childhood, I was processing and feeling so much trauma and pain from my parents. And I always associated with myself. And then into my teens, similar to you, like where there was periods where it was just so much and so much all the time, like that voice and that constant stimulation, you just get very tired, very, very tired. And so it's really, really important. Like you're talking about people kind of taking in energy. I think that's why it's so important for people who are, conscious and awake and are aware of these sort of things, that we are taking the time to ground in, to do the work that we feel is valuable to us, because people can feel that energy, like you can walk into a room with people who might not be, and everybody's journey is, sacred. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I think when you walk into a space and into a room and you are aware of these things and you're authentic and you share them from like a heart space, people listen, like they can feel that energy, like whether they're aware of it or not at that point, they're either choosing to alchemize with your own energy and kind of rise up to that frequency, or they get very triggered by it and they run away. And whatever they choose is what they need in that moment. But it's just beautiful that you can be that sort of pendulum to help people kind of rise up to that frequency, because I think that's the whole idea of what's happening right now on this earth. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, but I think there is a huge rise in consciousness and awareness. Like people are recognizing that all of these old paradigms, the way that we've been living, are no longer serving us, and they're not honoring every human being. Like right now, like going through school for IIN, like I learned 1 in 5 people, even though we have $12 billion invested in our food industry, are still not able to eat. Like there's something going on with our world right now where where there's still people who are not getting what they need to have in life. And I think like the more work that we do on this stuff and the more we raise our consciousness, the more that we're kind of tied into that unified love frequency, it's pretty magical what can happen.
Yes, we've all come from small tribes, and we've all got like our own basic needs, like food, water, mating, whatever. And then there's another tribe over there, another tribe over there. China, India, Africa, England, Scotland, Australia, whatever. And then we've all like come together. We've traded like survival tips. So we've learned, for example, 5 tips: how to eat more, how to drink more, how to mate more, how to help yourself from a storm. And then over there they've got how to fight against flu, um how to get shade when there's sun. So you've got like
Yeah.
3 survival tips from there, 3 from there, but there's 2 from here you haven't got, and 2 from there you haven't got. So it's become imbalanced. So you're
Hmm.
trading here, but you're forgetting like the basic trades, and so you focus on these more, and then these problems occur over here, and now it's like you're all depending on each other for your survival, but the basic needs are forgotten. So it's like we're trying to,
Yeah.
with loads of food, but not enough food. Medication to help people with disease, but then it's medication that's keeping people in disease because they can heal themselves. So it's like
Yeah.
you're trying to do good, but by doing good, you're forgetting stuff, which is creating bad. And it's not that people are doing bad on purpose, or they are. There's obviously both, but it's like the basics are already here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because if it wasn't social media, when we say there's like a mass awakening, there's 8 billion humans on the planet. Is there a mass awakening? Like, what does a mass mean? Does it mean 1% of the world? Does it mean like what does the mass mean? Like, as you said, all this is already here on a local level. It's just when you go out into the world, you think, oh my God, someone in Canada knows this, someone in Australia knows this. It's like my neighbor knows this, but I've never had a chat with them. So is it a mass? Is it becoming more aware? Or is it that everything's online? So it seems like it's really big, but really it isn't?
Mm.
Or is the answer just to help yourself and literally lead an example, and like how evolution is, it will just follow? Just my thoughts.
Oh, I think that's super interesting. Very interesting perspective. I think that it probably has something to do with it, definitely. Like I definitely noticed, having been kind of pretty active in the online world over the last couple of years, sort of building what I've been building, that it's very easy to almost get this sort of ego lens on spirituality, because there's so many people sharing so many things and so many downloads and so many insights and stuff. I really think like the process of like mass awakening, if I was going to say it's anything, is a process of remembering, people just sort of remembering who they were prior to all of their trauma, all their experiences that have altered the way that they perceive and interact with the world around them, and sort of we're tying back into that higher level of consciousness, that soul aspect within ourselves. Um, I think that's what, like, because I think that everybody is masters in their own way of certain things. If we were able to get to a level where we could cut out the outside stimulation, which is almost near impossible, even for myself, I struggle with that too. But if there was a way that we could sort of cut out the outside stimulation and really tapped into what our true gifts are and master those gifts and honor those gifts, if everybody was able to kind of do that and tap into themselves, then we could all live in cohesion, I think, on this earth. Like, I truly do believe that everybody here has a purpose. Um, and I think that, like, even though there is a lot of duality of light and dark, like, really, if you go even past that lens, it really, everything just is. And if you sort of set that intention that everything is happening for the highest good and for the highest evolution of, like, of humanity, it takes a lot of weight off your chest, I find. But the mass awakening, I think, to be honest with you, probably has a lot to do with both. I think it has, like, I think more people are aware because of mass media, like, because of sharing things. But I don't know if people fully understand what's actually going on. And there's just so many things that people are saying are happening, that, like, there's so many different platforms saying that this is happening or this is going on about what, so it's hard to know, like, what to take from it all. You know what I mean? Like, what resonates for you about what's happening. For me, like, there's so many different things.
Um, what I find amazing is that um, I've lost my thought.
It happens. It's out in the cosmos now.
Oh yeah, so what I've realized, right, is that nothing really does exist because when you observe it, it changes, and what you want doesn't exist, and then when you get there, it's not how you thought. And so, like, what really is real is right now. It's almost like you have a lovely plant or a bird that flies in the garden, right? When you should look at that bird and be like, this is an amazing bird. I'm gonna watch that bird for as long as I can because I've never seen this bird before. It's amazing. Instead, we're like, oh my god, gotta get my phone, gotta Google this bird, and then the bird fucks off, and then you can't find it on Google, and it's like you never see it again. It's like always chasing this thing after the fact. It's almost like if only I had done this, or learning from a mistake next time. It's like just being present and accepting that this really is all that there is. Like, as hard as it is when we've got calendars and going out with your friends next week and Christmas time and Nan's birthday on the 4th, whatever, it's just, okay, reality is that hopefully that does happen, but that might not happen. Like, for example, lockdown. Everyone's plans disappeared, gone. Okay, coronavirus literally could wiped out everyone, gone. So all your energy that you spent at present in the past, planning holidays, planning the future, planning Christmas, you're wasting energy in that moment, planning stuff that probably won't ever happen. 20% of it might happen, so 80% of your thoughts at present are just a waste of time. If you put that into your everyday experience, 80% of your thoughts are a waste of time because it doesn't exist and it's just you feeling like you have control over your life and future by planning and thinking now. Reality is that when you get there, it's not the same and it
Mm,
changes. So, like 80% of people's consciousness is just it's in their head. Like 80% in their head every single day. If they take away future stuff, as I said, do something now and have in your back of your mind what you're going to do next. Like what you're going to do tomorrow. Like don't analyze it and write everything out. Like, okay, I'm going to see John tomorrow. That is it. Don't worry about how am I going to get to John's house if there's trains running. Go and Google now, check the trains. Go and Google tomorrow. The chances are he'll just be like, hey, I'm actually driving past. I'll pick you up. So you would have spent all that time Googling how to get to John's house with the train, and then John happens to drive past. So
mm,
everyone is spending so much time now is wasted on stuff that doesn't exist. And yet, if they came out of their head 80% of the time, they'd see all this amazing stuff like birds and planes and stuff like that, and a butterfly in the garden, and they'll be so in awe of that butterfly that they won't need to get their phone out, check what breed it is. They're present. It's almost like when you say the love of your life walks past, and then you're like, oh my god, that's him. It's all about, oh, I need to find him. Hopefully I meet him again. It's like the universe will bring him back round if he's supposed to be in your life at that time. The time,
yeah.
if he's here now to spend time with you at that moment. It doesn't mean he's going to come back around and be here forever. Learn something from that person. See the traits you like in somebody. See the things you don't like in somebody. He might not. That's the vision of the perfect man based on what you wanted in a perfect man. That's bollocks. It's just here now. Embrace that now, that is all that ends. Like that is really all that is real. And I have truly learned that. no matter what I think exists, it doesn't. There's always something else that makes me realize I was wrong. So it's like, okay, I'm really smart, but I know that I'm smart enough to know that kind of what I know I don't know, because things always change, things are always right. Red wine's good, red wine's bad. 8 hours sleep's good, 8 hours sleep's bad. Can't have carbs, can have carbs. Fat's good, fat's bad. God exists, God doesn't exist. You know,
Mm.
fucking flu. Everything is this or that. So when you realize, okay,
Yeah.
so no matter what I do, it's the opposite, and it's the opposite to them, and it's like politics, Republicans, whatever. That literally says that my perception of my belief is what I saw here. That is it. What you
Mhm.
saw was relevant there. It's not relevant here, and it's only relevant now. It's like it could rain now, but then tomorrow it could be sunny. So I'll go get a brolly now in case it rains tomorrow, but then it never rains again in the rest of my life. So
Mhm.
really, what is real is right now. And as you said, because we are humans and we're smart, we can have a calendar. Yeah, you can think, okay, I'm gonna go see Jessica, go for a party. I need to get a dress. But then we'd spend a whole life in that moment now, planning the dress, what colour it's going to be, fucking like wait till that happens and then get the dress, and then you realise you don't even need a dress because you don't end up going out.
I feel you. Be open to the medicine from each experience, present experience. Yeah, we do live in the past a lot, especially like when I work with clients, especially who have a lot of trauma and pain that they're processing through. Like so many, like a lot of people don't realize that we actually live within that trauma. So if you go through a traumatic experience, for instance, and you're 3 years old or you're 4 years old, some people get so stuck in that physical experience that they're living their life as if they were 4 years old when they're 25, and they can't get past it, and then they're missing all these like beautiful experiences that life's continuously trying to show them, because anything that you go through in life is a catalyst for growth and for experience, like you said. So like, sitting out in the garden in the present moment looking at the butterfly, like that moment is exactly what you needed. If you just honor that moment, then you won't see it go by without. And I've been guilty for that too, like not being present, especially because of social media. Like when I was younger, on Instagram, like I want to take pictures of everything so I'd have content to share. And sometimes in doing so, I would look at the picture and I couldn't actually physically remember the moment. Like, what did it smell like? What did it sound like? What did it look like? Who was I with? Because I was so focused on just capturing that one piece so I wouldn't forget it instead of actually experiencing it. I have a question for you in regards to that. So, a lot of stuff's going on right now about like manifestation and visualization and like creating your reality and all of these things you want to attract into your life. How do you think that that ties into the present moment? Do you think that sometimes we as individuals get so caught up in the aspect of wanting to create something that we feel is in alignment with ourselves that we almost do a disservice to ourselves if we focus on that too much?
It's almost like when you want something, you get like that feeling of like it's already here. So that excitement, like Christmas, like you want Christmas now, 6 weeks before Christmas is here. Whereas if we suddenly woke up and it was like Christmas is here, the energy will skyrocket up, and then it will just go back to normal. Whereas when we think about Christmas, that feeling of what it would feel like becomes that present, but we look around and it's not here. So it's like confusing our body. So like
Mm.
Amazon, you order from Amazon and it says it'll be here tomorrow. You just can't wait until it's here. But if you knew it was going to take 30 days, you'd let it go, forget about it, and then you wouldn't be focusing on it. So when you focus on it, it's almost like I want it now, but it's the perception of it can come now. That's why you're focusing on it. If you didn't know you're supposed to come now, it wouldn't exist. And so it's a feeling of kind of controlling that feeling, like smoking, for example. A person can be in a like having a great time, I don't know, water skiing or jumping out of a plane, and he realised, fuck, I've not had a fag for 8 hours. Whereas if he's sitting at home doing fuck all watching TV, the brain is going to be like cigarette, and it remembers that feeling, and it hasn't got that feeling, so he has to do it to get that feeling. So now his brain's like, okay, I'm happy now. Um, so that's why when you focus on something, you push it away. Um, it is complex. It's many different things. It's not just
It
one.
is.
It's multiple. And that's something I've also realized is that everything is multi-dimensional. It's not black or white. It's not even grey. There's like many levels of grey. Um, does that answer your question?
Yeah, 100% it does. There is so many levels of gray. There's like no, like you said, there's really no like right way to do things because there'll always be like a right or a wrong to any situation, like no matter what perspective someone's looking at it. So it's really just like doing what feels genuine to you. I think like when it comes to, because I do have some sort of like big goals and aspirations for myself, but what I try to do is I set the intention of what I want to create, and I release it, and I just accept the fact that like I know that I am the creator of my reality. And if I set that intention and I set it out and I just like stay present and then just honor what is coming up in the present moment, that it will eventually align with me when the timing is right. But you said like the more that you focus on something, sometimes the more you push it away because it's almost coming from like a fear, right? It's coming from that like fear energy, like I need to hold on to this memory or this thing because if I don't do it, it's going to run away from me. I'm never going to have it. So I got to hold on to it out of fear. And in doing so, you're actually putting more energy away from the thing that you want most. Whereas if you just sort of come from a place of love, like I want to create this, you set it out to the universe, you set that intention, you release it, and then you just go about doing your day to day stuff that you feel is honoring it, like it's more likely to come because you're embodying that like genuine like love and joy and all of those feelings that it goes with it. I find anyway, that's my own take on it.
If you imagine like stars in the universe, right? Uh, so looking back, you can say that this star traveled from here and got to here because of the magnetic force that was there. So if you go back in time, that star was actually over here. And so now if you kind of go back in time and watch it go forward, you realize it traveled from here to there. So it was always going to do it. So if it happened kind of looking back, then looking forward, then that if that starts here, it's probably going to end up over there. It's like having a piece of string and you have laser eyes. If you look at that piece of string, the rope that the string cuts, it sets a light. Like it sets a light and the rope's destroyed. So when you're not looking, that rope is there. So the things we want in our life is already there. But when you look at it, you cut the rope and it sets a light. And the more you observe it, the more fire that rope's gonna create because you're like laser beaming that rope, the more it's gonna set a light. So the more you focus on it, the more you ruin what you want, which is that piece of string. So you look away and you say, John, is that rope there? He says, yeah, it is there. Fantastic. So physically, we have to take action. So, if you want to be an artist, you can't just vision me being an artist and not drawing. Like there's physical action we have to take. So you draw the photos. And then maybe if you want to have it up in an art gallery, you'd send it off to art galleries. So that's the physical side. The other side is just visualizing that somebody who say works for an art gallery or whatever is going to come into your life, and then you're walking a dog, and then she's in the park, and then she said you got a poo bag, and she goes, yeah. So what do you do? Oh, I'm an artist. Oh, I'm an art gallery person. Oh, fantastic. That's the universe bringing someone into your life via energy. So it's energy and physically. It both has to happen. Like law of attraction is the law of attract action. Like the action is that half of the attract. So yeah, it's both. But like as I said, the planet is going to go there whether you like it or not. If you are a certain vibration and you're good enough to be an artist to have your art in an art gallery, you're going to be in an art gallery. So it's only a
Mm-hmm.
matter of time that it's going to happen. So that's like that planet is going to go there over time. You're going to have your art in the art gallery. That string is there. Just it's going to be there when you want it. There's no time. So imagine the string when you look is your art in the gallery. When you look, the rope's there, the art's in the gallery. Move on to the next thing. Whereas when you look at the rope too long, it's like worrying, shit, am I not good enough? Unconsciously,
Yeah.
that's because you're not really a good enough artist to be in the gallery. So that's your gut saying the reason why you have to focus on it because deep down you're not going to get it. So that's one aspect. And the other aspect is if you don't trust it's going to happen, then you're trying to use your conscious mind to take you left where the bus stop is because you think there's an art gallery there. So if anyone's getting the bus, she's going to go there. So you're physically going over there. But actually, she went to the shop at supermarket afterwards and the
Mm.
nearest bus stop's over there. So the energy, trusting your gut, would have taken you there. So we fuck up our own destiny by trying to control it. Um,
I feel you. And it's funny too how our ego plays such a big part in that, right? Like it's not necessarily the enemy, but it's just like part of us, that human part of us that's there to kind of keep us safe. And so it'll make us doubt ourselves and like have those I don't know what your sort of thoughts on ego are, but I really do. I don't like for a long time I used to be angry with my ego. Like I used to feel like it was like the enemy. Um, but I've learned that it's just a big part of who I am. Like the ego is part of that human experience. When you can learn to recognize like when it's your ego communicating with you and say, listen, like I appreciate you trying to protect me, but I'm good. Like I don't need you to fill me with all of this like doubt and fear because I know that I'm doing what's right. It's interesting like learning to distinguish between like intuition and fear because I find that both sometimes internally feel very similar in the way that they, like for me, I usually get a lot of feelings like within my like lower abdomen area. Sometimes I'll get sweaty on my skin, goosebumps, things like that. But I've had both responses when it came to fear, like actually physically being scared of a situation that I needed to be aware of, and my intuition. Have you found that like you've had to distinguish between the two? Because it's been a big process for me, like learning the difference between what both feel and when they're coming up and why they're coming up.
So yeah, it's like trying to distinguish. So when you think about somebody, are you thinking about them because they just thought about you, or are you thinking about them because something triggered off of them in your surroundings? And the answer is, you there is no way to know. Like it's in your brain, it's one, it's a thought. There's no way to know. It's almost like if you've got a triangle here and a triangle here. If you ting it, the other one's going to go off, but you don't know which triangle will set the other one off. So it is hard, and the only way you can kind of provide proof is if you call that person as soon as you think about them, and then they say, oh my god, I was just thinking about you, and then you try and realize, okay, when I was focusing on, say, my dog, she came into my head and has there's no reason why she needs to, because I'm feeding my dog. That means it was because of her. But for example, if you're in your bedroom and there's, I don't know, an alcohol bottle on the side which you went partying with her, and that's probably you thinking about her. In terms of that feeling between gut, it is a battle still, right? To try and
Mm-hmm.
distinguish my gut feeling, which is the feeling, and my own ego counteracting it. So, for example, as I said, when you observe something, you collapse it. As soon as I observe my gut feeling rather than just going with it, it collapses. So now I'm then trying to observe which is the right feeling, and it's all fucked
Mm-hmm.
up. It's almost like you just have to jump off that cliff and trust you'll be okay. It's already happened. If I'm standing there, I'm questioning myself, and it's fucked. It's fucked basically. And with magicians and hypnosis people, they always say, whatever comes to your mind, chop and change a few times. There's a reason why they say change your mind a few times. Now the magician may say it's so you don't feel like I have influenced you because you've chopped and changed yourself. But really, the science behind it is that when they put a thought into your mind, you're trying to think what it might be, and by chopping and changing, allows other thoughts to come in, which is the energy that he's put out there. So it is hard to differentiate what is feeling of this is right versus the feeling of this is right because I want it to be right. For example, I've got a twin flame. I was convinced she's my twin flame, but then she basically says that she is not. So it's like, okay, did I want it so bad that I blinded my own gut feeling saying it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
her? Or is she? But twin flame is it's not just because I want it now. She's in my life for the future. So just because I haven't got it now doesn't mean it's not going to be for the future. So it's like having that rope. That rope's there. That's like in 5 years' time. You've not even drawn the fucking painting yet. So why would you observe that and burn the rope with your eyes when it doesn't even exist? Like just because I wanted her in my life now, that's just because she's not here now doesn't mean she's not here for the future. So it's like that feeling of feeling right versus the feeling of I want it to be right. It clouds your feeling, and it is very hard even for me to differentiate the feeling between gut and what's right and versus gut and what I want to be right. It is difficult, and it's a thing I have to. It doesn't end. Like no matter how smart you are, Jesus, Mark, Buddha, me, you. It's a thing that you can only learn to manage. No one's ever going to be like, okay, I can trust my gut all the time. It's you learn through the past experiences how to trust that gut. There is literally no way. You have to constantly manage. It's like having a kid. You have to constantly manage them and help them and teach them. Like that's it. Until they're
Yep.
obviously adult or whatever. But it's a constant process, like working on yourself. It's a constant thing. Working out whether gut is right or not, it's a constant thing. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. It's like when I do crypto trading, I knew I should be holding on to a coin, and then I cash out and put it into another coin. That coin goes up, this coin stays the same. And yet I knew I should have waited. My gut said I should have waited, but then my gut said go into that one, it might go up. So if
Mm.
my gut says wrong and gut says right, what the fuck is gut? It's a mixture of feeling of what you want versus what you should know. And it's that battle of, as you said, ego versus come on, do it, take a risk, entrepreneur, take a risk versus nope, we've been through this. Every single fucking time you do this, that coin goes up and you're back to square one.
Yep. It's true. It's very true. Well, and I think too, like because like the work that I do, like our gut instinct can be skewed too, right? Like if you've spent most of the majority of your life sort of living in a state of fear or not being conscious, like being unconscious, and so many people are, um, you don't even know what your gut feeling is. Like you might have experienced it a billion times in many different situations, but you've just become so good at not acknowledging that part of yourself, or just kind of like pushing it to the side, that in that distress you've shown yourself that you don't trust your gut instinct, and so it just doesn't predominantly show up in the same ways that it used to. I had to like relearn what my gut instinct was, and it, like you said, it does, and it sometimes my gut tells me like the complete opposite of what I'm thinking it should, and I don't understand what that might be. Say for instance, like we're talking about relationships. Like I was um, seeing a guy for a period of 2 months, and I, in my head, like checked off all of these boxes, all of these like little things that I'd written down on a sheet of what I wanted to attract with in my like twin flame and soulmate, because that we were told to do this stuff, right? Like make a list of what you want, characteristics, the way you want them to look, how you want them to treat you. And so I made this like big, really detailed list, thinking I was doing myself a service. And someone showed up quite instantaneously, and I'm going through the boxes and checking off all these boxes, and then but my gut was like, no, like no, this isn't good. And like so it came to a period where it was like for 3 or 4 days where it was getting to the point where I was almost getting nauseous. Like I was like, what? Like, and I just kept trying to run away from that feeling, and I'm like, is that my gut, or is that like my fear of being in a relationship and not trusting people and like not allowing people to come in? Like, is that a feared response because I don't want to go through that experience of pain again, or was that actually my gut instinct telling me, no, this isn't the person you're meant to be with? Even though I know obviously at that present moment, like that experience was what I needed. Was that sort of like a long lasting kind of relationship? And it's really hard to distinguish between the two. Like I'm sure that you've probably experienced that as well. And this whole like twin flame soulmate thing, because it's so prevalent right now in the earth. Like everyone's talking about connecting with their twin flames and their soulmates. And a lot of people I found too recently, like in sort of the online community and stuff, have said that right now, like with the raise in consciousness on the earth, that a lot of people are going to find their soulmates and their twin flames. But from my own personal experience, I find that those kind of things, like you said, like they're almost part of like our soul contract. Like they're very much like these individuals who are derived part of our path. So if we flow within ourselves and we honor ourselves in the present moment, whatever that might look like, we're much more likely to attract those experiences and bringing those individuals into our life than if we're not doing it, because I think I'm sure I've probably met my soulmate a billion times, but I haven't been in the right space in order to be in that kind of relationship. Like I still had more experiences I had to go through in order to really be at that level. Same with you in this twin flame who you feel that you've met. Like you're talking about, like this could be someone who's meant to be your twin flame 5 years from now, but the more that you've observed just that and thinking that idea, the more you've pushed it away. It's kind of the same concept.
So gut feeling, for example, you could say that it feels, or the decision you knew you should have made looking back, you say, oh my gut, I knew I shouldn't have done that. So looking back, you knew you shouldn't have done it. So the gut feeling is that the outcome I wanted didn't happen, but could have happened if I trusted my gut. And then you've got the other gut, which is the same gut, which is the feeling, that feeling of it doesn't feel right. For somebody who's in fear, as you said, someone who's lived in fear, negative vibration all their time, all they know is that feeling. So in terms of the energy scale, positive and negative, it's just a feeling that person's used to. So somebody who stays in their house for say 10 years and doesn't go out, and then somebody says, let's go to the pub. Oh my God, so I shouldn't go to the pub. Why? Because the energy will be different, so it doesn't feel right. So that is her gut. That is correct. That's her gut. Okay. But then, for example, she knew she shouldn't leave the window open before she went to bed, and a big bird flew in and stole her cat. I knew I should have shut the window. My gut says I should have shut the window. That's both a gut feeling. The gut feeling of what I wanted to happen didn't happen because I didn't do this and I knew I should have done it, versus the feeling of I knew this doesn't feel right. So again, it's the same thing, but it's different based on like kind of the level of vibration you're on. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. You can have that's exactly it. You can literally have the same experience. Like you and I are in this experience right now in this podcast, right? We're doing this together. But your perception of this experience might be completely different than my perception of this experience, even though we're in the same experience together, which is just like wild. It's so crazy. Like, I don't know if you follow Activation Vibration, a woman named Heather, but she In her transmissions, she talks about how she's in her present moment sharing that transmission. And then she talks about how you're going to be receiving this transmission at a different time, but it's the same time because this moment is still happening presently. And it's just so crazy because we like, there's just so much to it, I think, in this human experience that for myself, like it can be kind of overwhelming a little bit. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes there's some days where I'm like, oh my God, like I don't want to do all of this work today. But like I read this quote from a healer I used to work with years ago, and I think it's really beautiful. It says, what you know you can't outrun, and what you know will always follow you. So that idea of like that awareness of like understanding all of these things, like the more that we try to run away from it just because we don't want to deal with it or we don't want to have to integrate that practice or go through that experience, the more that it's going to follow us as well too. So you can't run away from what you know. You just have to be conscious and like do the work and live presently and do the best that you can every day. And that sometimes you will mess up. Like I've messed up so many times, but I've actually learned more from my mistakes than I have from my triumphs. Do you find that as well?
Do I find that as well?
Yeah, like do you find like I'm always curious about this because like for me personally, like I find that I do, even though I try to consciously make the, my gut decision, make the right choice in any sort of situation, I do find that in those moments where, maybe I didn't make the right choice or I didn't always do the, what might be presently like the right choice in that moment, I'm still learning a lot from those experiences.
So yeah, I'm always analyzing. I don't analyze the future. I analyze looking back. So I've done all my analyzing when I was younger, right? I used to analyze fucking every single damn thing, right? Like anyway. So yeah, so I always analyze looking back so I can improve for the future. Now, I will only analyze if something happens that I didn't want to happen. And it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like if you keep analyzing, you'll get to this perfect place where everything flows, everything happens as you want it. And it's like, no, it doesn't. There's still going to be 50-50 of this could happen versus this. And if you take that path, then all this shit unfolds. And if you take that path, it's all peaceful. It's a constant balance, like every single moment. If I do this, this is going to happen. If I do this is going to happen. But what's going to be like the better path with the less shit or the most positives? It's almost like if I put money on this number in the roulette, I'm going to get this amount back. But if I do this, I'm going to get this amount back. But the odds are more, which means I'm more likely for that to come in, even though I might get less. It's a constant analyzing of what's going to be the best path. And um, um,
There probably really isn't like a right or wrong path really,
Yeah,
right?
so yeah,
Either, right? Like
yeah,
they
oh yeah. Everything is in our brain. Like every single thing is in our brain. Like if we were just energy, we'd already be attracting to the exact opposite vibration that we were, whatever. So kind of like the job's already done. Like you've gone through life, which is to become whole, which is to find your vibration, find your twin flame, done. Physically, we're put on this earth because of planes and schools and cars and trains and foreign people coming over and having given birth here, all our energies are fucked. So like astrocartography, like the geographic location of your vibration. Essentially, we have to undo where we are and go back to where we should be. Essentially, so all the issues you had growing up. You've got to neutralize them, counteract them. Why was I like this? Because my parents were like this. Why were they like that? Well, my dad came from Africa and I live in America. The energy's different, the culture's different, the vibration's different. He's with
Mm-hmm.
American vibration, but he's an African vibration. And their evolution from the jungle is only, say, 1,000 years ago. As Americans, it was only, say, 400 years ago. So the
Yep.
vibration is different. The biology is going to be different. So you're kind of undoing all the things that don't resonate with you. So you have this feeling of like, I know what freedom is. I know what it's like to be free. I'm staying up at night time because I feel more in tune. But then I go back to work and this happens. You're trying to like undo everything. So you remove these friends, you eat these foods, you stop watching this TV. You counteract your mum saying you shouldn't be doing this. It's like, why should I be doing this? And you counteract everything so everything matches your conscious mind. So you're in harmony to your thoughts. So it's almost like having a organized garage so you know where everything is, right?
Yep.
You're kind of just ordering everything outside based on what it should be in your head. And if everyone
Mm-hmm.
else doesn't have an orderly garage or believes all this nonsense that whatever is real, like chicken has to be 100% piping hot, it's like, why would you think that? Well, but it's just what it is. Well, who the fuck taught you that? And they don't even know themselves, right? So, yeah, you're just undoing
Yeah.
everything and aligning yourself up geographically, like astrocartography, I don't know if you know about that, where your energy is. So you could say what your twin flames are and your soulmates are, because if they're where all their opposite energies are, and you are that energy, it's like, well, how do I make enough money to get a flight to go over there? And then you've got to go to school, go to get a job, save up, get a bank. That is like physically undoing everything just so you can end up being there. It's a constant, a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And you talked about two different things there. One, you talked about inner child healing, which is like such vital work that a lot of people have to be aware of and do. Because we, especially when if you're brought into a family where there are significant amounts of like trauma and pain and like things that you're having to process through. It's that process of unlearning what is no longer serving you when it's become such a big part of the subconscious beliefs that you have. Like, it's crazy that we operate from this like 10% of our conscious mind, and then we have 90% of our subconscious mind, and 90% of our subconscious mind, which most people aren't aware of, is what actually dictates how we interact with the world around us. So it's like actually like understanding what your subconscious beliefs are based on your experiences or what you might have went through, and working on recreating those new neural passageways so that you can kind of reprogram the way that you process the world. That's like really what all this work is, but it's so, so, so hard. And then also like challenging your perception as well too, because we live in this sort of like dogma society now where, like say for instance, we're talking about like meditation being, this very like healing and powerful thing because we've experienced that. Whereas like someone might have meditated and found it to be an awful experience. And so for them, like us going around saying that this is a beneficial activity, like it helps with your, gray matter, helps connect better to your higher self. This person could very well be going around saying like, this is an awful experience. This experience brought up so much negative stuff for me. It wasn't good for me. I don't honor it. I don't like it. And then anybody else who had that same experience is now going to perceive it in that way. So it's just this like, you're right, you're wrong kind of perspective, where I think it's like really beautiful when you can be open enough as an individual. And I think that's really what the definition of like spirituality is versus religion, because there's no confines that close off what can resonate for you. Like if you're willing to be open to the experience, I'm always wanting people to challenge my perspectives. Like I love it when people call me out, like, I don't agree with what you're doing, or I don't like with what you said. I love that. Those are the kind of conversations I want to have because I want my perspectives to be challenged. I want to become like a well-rounded human being that's loving and accepting of that unified source, right? And that means that like the more that I challenge myself and like my, this sort of this umbrella that I've created to expand and to open up to the heavens, like the more that I'm willing to just open myself up in that way and challenge myself and be called out on my own shit, the more that I can grow. But we're so terrified of being wrong or being judged for being wrong that so many of us just like immediately address things with sort of aggression and anger. Like, no, you must be wrong. Like you can't be right about this. And we like hold on to that form of identity that we created for ourselves because it's the only form of power that we've ever found. When really like nobody really is anything. We're all just energy and we're all the same energy. We're all just vibrating at different frequencies. It's wild.
So yeah, it's like when I was at present, when I was diagnosed as Tourette's when I was 12, on the system it says diagnosed as Tourette's, give them this medication, right? No one told me to stop. No one checked up, no doctors. Like it doesn't, it's crazy. It's almost like if I hadn't used my own initiative, I'd be 50 still going to get that prescription. So it's like, who's responsible for me? Is it the doctor, the government? Is it for me? Okay, so I should go off if that doctor's saying I should. Okay, well, they're obviously not going to say I should because like that's just not what it is. I'm twitching, medication solves twitching. So they're not going to say. So therefore, I can't make my own decision because I'm not supposed to. I'm not a doctor. So it's like, who is really running the joint here? And the answer is no one's doing anything. It's just like, it's just what it is. And at the end of the day, if it affects your life, you have to take responsibility. For example, if someone had cancer and say they were 20 years old, right, and they're 60 years old, cancer was 40 years ago, on that medical report, it would say, has been diagnosed with cancer. So unless you update it saying his cancer disappeared or he died, you look on that, you'd see, oh, he's got cancer, he must still have cancer because, it stays there forever. He's got Tourette's, he must still have Tourette's. He's got one leg, he must still have one leg. Nobody expects a leg to grow back. And it's like, that was then. Doesn't have any relevance to tomorrow or the future. Childhood trauma, for example, if somebody says, like my parents did, they told me no, like you can't do that. Okay, so that's at present. I'm that same person at present as I would be when I'm 80. So if I'm told no, I can't get excited when the ice cream man comes, for the rest of my life, I will not get excited when the ice cream man comes because my brain is still the same. When the ice cream man comes, mum says, "Don't get excited. You're like a twat." Okay, so I'm that person tomorrow. Ice cream man comes tomorrow and I'm say 4. I don't get excited. Then I'm 5. Then I'm 6. Then I'm 7. Then I'm 8. Then I'm 40. Then I'm 20. Then I'm 50. Then I'm 60. Then I have kids. Don't get excited when the ice cream man calls. Why? Just don't. And then that child has followed your bullshit pattern and you have no
Yep.
idea why. So, yeah, you have to undo every single knot in your brain. Like every time my mum says something that is bollocks, I'm like, who's your source? Where the fuck did you hear that? Oh, they say. Who the fuck is they? Father Christmas? Who is they? And I keep pressuring her to go back to find that source. It was on TV. Who said it? Oh, this person. Who is this person? Oh, and eventually you kind of hit a brick wall where
Find
she
that
doesn't fucking
seed.
clue what she's
Yeah.
saying or where she got it from. It was
Yep.
on Facebook. Oh, and what website was it? Some bullshit website for clickbait. So yeah, you have to
Yeah.
undo everything that isn't real now because it was not real day before, which is connected to the day before, which is connected to your parents and what they were saying when you were a child. And your brain is the same person when you were 2, when you were 90. You just choose to be more mature because everyone's more mature in the office and you've got to be professional. Everyone's that child. They just choose to hide it because you're called childish if you're riding an electric scooter at 30. I've got an electric scooter. I've had this since I was 13. I just go on my scooter. I scoot around at night time. I'm 30 years old. I'm still that 18-year-old kid, and I say I'm going to be 80, going to the shop to get a newspaper, not the newspaper, but going to the shop to get some
Yeah.
milk when I am 80. Because you don't change. You're the same damn person in your head.
Yeah, I agree with you. I resonate so much with what you're saying in regards to the medication thing too, because I was the same way. Like I was 12 years old. That age is a magical number. That comes up a lot for people I find. But I was 12 years old, diagnosed with a severe anxiety disorder, diagnosed with chronic depression, put on like 4 different medications for like 5 years, became a zombie. Um, couldn't cry at my own grandfather's funeral, just like crazy, crazy stuff. And then it's the same thing. Like I when I told my mom that I wanted to try different alternatives to taking my medication, that I was tired of living in this way. And I'm not saying that medications don't have their part. Like I work in the holistic health field, so I always encourage like a holistic approach first. But I'm sure that there are many occasions where pharmaceutical medications do have to come into play. But for me personally, like I just noticed that I needed something different. And so like it was like you said, it's just that process of like recognizing when you want to have a change. But it's funny because there's still people in my life who identify me as the girl who has severe anxiety and depression, even though who I am presently is very much a very different human being than the 12, 13-year-old girl who was going through that experience that had that level of anxiety and depression, And it's like you spend, and I'm done spending time trying to defend myself and pretend like, because at first I used to get so angry, like I'm not that person anymore. Like, what are you saying to me? Like, leave me alone, Like, but now I'm in that place now where it's like, listen, this is just who I am now. Like if you can't, if you still want to see me in that lens, that's fine because I know that I'm different, and you just have to honor it.
So, for example, I'm 27, living at home. I'm building my online empire by doing the podcast. My goal is to travel the world, put on a speaking event, teach people. People come watch me speak. To my neighbours who grew up with me with the kid with Tourette's, right? They're thinking, oh, he's got Tourette's. Maybe he can't get a normal job. Okay, so understandable. Maybe he's living at home at 27, can't get a job because he's got a condition, he's got a disease, right? He's got an illness. So it's like someone's dyslexic or they're Down syndrome, they can't do certain things. Oh, he's got Tourette's. Maybe that's why, all everyone else at school, they've got a job, they've got a mortgage, they've got a girlfriend, a boyfriend, they've got a fucking dog, they've got a baby, happy families, right? Maybe that's why. And it fascinates me because I know, for example, they think that people don't change because they haven't changed and life is what you are. What you are at school, you're going to be the same. I, for example, occasionally see people who I went to school with. It's like they're dead. Like it's just like it never even happened, like school days. And I'm thinking to myself, are they thinking, oh, that's the kid with Tourette's, or oh, like they see you as that the girl with depression, that kid with Tourette's. It's like, holy shit, you are the exact same person as you were. You've not even changed. I've been reborn a billion times, and
I've
yet
died a
you're thinking
billion
to
deaths.
myself,
Yeah.
oh, maybe he can't get a job because of his Tourette's. It's like, what fucking Tourette's? Tourette's was dead. It isn't here now. It was a name to define what was the symptoms of something then, not now. You've no
Yep.
fucking clue. I am building an empire. I can't go to work and do 4 podcasts a week. You having a laugh, right? So it's like the opposite is happening, yet they're convinced that that is real because they believe it's real because the majority believe that is real. It is fascinating to understand, as you said. You don't get angry about these people. You kind of feel sorry for them, the fact that they're not as wise and aware as you. But yeah, when
Yeah.
I think about it like that, I see a neighbour walking past. I'm thinking, I wonder if they're thinking, oh, he's got Tourette's, had Tourette's, whatever, still has Tourette's, whatever. That's why. It's fascinating. It's
It
like
is
you've no
fascinating.
idea that you've no idea. Like it's just fascinating. I can't even explain it any different.
It is. Have you ever looked at a picture of yourself from the past and you don't even recognize yourself anymore? You
So
honor
when I look at,
yourself.
I don't believe in pictures because if, for example, you put up a picture that was of a time there and then, because I'm constantly growing as a person, you can't look back at the old you because it makes you feel weird because it wasn't you. Most people they stay the same. So you've got a picture of your brother. Mum's got a picture of your brother when he was 18, and she'll have that when he's 30, for example, because most people stay the same. But when I look back at old pictures, because I was constantly evolving and questioning, I was never the same person every single day. And so I see
Yeah.
the pain, I see this fake smile, but I know what I was thinking about, what I was analyzing, what I was going through, but yet I see this smile of knowing who I wanted to be, but then knowing, for example, I did a photo shoot when I was 19. I just fallen in love for the first time. I was working out everything. Your parents telling me this, and I was seeing this. I did a photo shoot. I wanted to wear this flowery, out of this world patterned top. Okay, and it wasn't normal to my parents. They wanted me to just wear like a normal polo shirt. I went to war to try and wear that top. It's about me being me doing what I want to do. About you telling me at fucking 19 years old to wear a stupid top. I want to be me because I was always under my parents' thumb for so long. It was like hadn't realised I'd become an adult because I was still listening to them and following their orders, right? So I remember I went to war trying to wear this top, and then on the photo, I'm just like smiling. It's like you look so happy and like you've got it under control. I was working it out. But to know what I was thinking, what I was going through before and after the journey home is phenomenal because it's like, holy shit, how can that seem like that when really it isn't? So I don't believe in photos unless, for example, you have completed yourself. Because if you look at an old photo on Facebook and you don't like who you are, you're going to run. You shouldn't run. I always say, put photos up of yourself around the house. Fuck your family. Put pictures up of you everywhere you look until you learn to love yourself, until you look at yourself and you think, oh, greasy hair, spotty, whatever, fat chin, lose the weight, eat healthily, remove those spots, perfect yourself by looking at yourself and hating you so you learn to love yourself rather than, oh, I don't like myself, turn off my voice, I don't like watching myself. Don't run from yourself. Fucking look at yourself and ask yourself, why don't I like myself? Fix it. And then bin those photos, take new ones, put them up again. And if you can look at yourself and think, fuck me, I'm gorgeous. Jesus Christ, look at my jawline. Bloody hell, I'm gorgeous. Like I do. I look in the mirror and think,
Yeah,
fuck hell,
I do it
I
too.
am incredible. This is my parents. Fuck me. I am hot. Still haven't had a girlfriend, but damn, I'm hot. It's not about whether I'm hot or not. It's about me empowering myself because all I can do is empower myself. And so now there isn't any photos in the house anymore, by the way, because it was all the past. And until you do new things, nothing really stays the same. But yeah, put them
Mm.
up, look at yourself, love yourself, and then you don't really need photos because you're holding on to like a memory of the past in a photo. If you're so happy at present looking at that butterfly, you only need to take a picture of the damn butterfly because you were there.
You're like, I know that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to do that. It's a beautiful exercise to do that too. And it's funny, you can feel the shift when you can look at old photos and love yourself. I like what I normally do too is if I have a thought that kind of comes into my mind about like a negative thought towards myself, I immediately make myself sit and say a good thing like 14 times at that photo. Sometimes even to the point where I cry because I'm really just trying to like reprogram my mind. Like, no, you know what? It's okay that you thought this, but like let's redirect this. Let's redirect this into more of a positive sort of loving way. Because self-love's where it's at, baby. We gotta love ourselves first before we can love anybody else.
That's the thing, right? When somebody shows enormous self-love and confidence, you've got the half of the people that be like, wow, you're so confident, how can I be like you? Then you've got the others who are like so arrogant, cocky, what an arrogant prick, don't like him. So it's almost like if there's no wrong or right, Do you go for the majority of the negatives because the majority wins, for example, like in
Yeah.
politics? Or do you go for the positives, which is the ultimate outcome people want, even though there's less majority? It's almost like if I am dancing in the neighborhood, I'm making people smile, but there's one person who shouts out the window, "You're making so much noise, my kid's sleeping, I'm going to call the police." The police come down and say, "Look, you're distressing this one person, can you stop dancing in the street?" Yeah, no problem. And there's fucking thousands of other people who are loving your vibe and energy. This one toxic prick has destroyed everything. So it's like
Yeah.
you need this balance. Or where am I going with this? So yeah, self-love. I used to look at myself, listen to myself until I learnt to love myself and admire myself. And self-love should be promoted. You should promote people to, as long as you're not preaching it on people when they say shut up. Right? That's annoying. That is arrogant. But a platform like this where I'm saying love who you are, look in the mirror and think yourself, you are fucking amazing. You're beautiful. It doesn't matter whether you are or not or what is beautiful. It's just love yourself. I love myself. I think I'm the most great person on the planet. It's not that I am or I'm not, it's irrelevant. Again, it's about how do you as an individual person make yourself feel the best you can and you that by constantly complimenting yourself. Every time you do something, fucking hell, I'm great. Bloody hell, I'm fantastic. Every time I do an animal noise or an accent, I go to my dad, bloody hell, I am incredible. I can do every accent, every animal noise. I am fantastic. And it's not about whether I am or not. It just makes me feel good because you can't expect people to compliment you. Compliment yourself.
Yep. Always compliment yourself. I love it.
Right. Do you wanna end this now?
Yes, we can definitely end it
Okay,
now.
plug anything you want to plug, all your social medias and your websites and whatever.
All right. So my Instagram is the love embodiment. Please do follow. I'm constantly talking. I am a holistic health coach. So for where I work with women specifically who are looking to holistically heal their mind, body, and soul. And I use a lot of different modalities, integrative medicine, nutrition, spiritual practice, and love. And the whole idea is that we're always returning back to love because that's what we are and it's our highest vibration.
Okay, anything else you want to plug?
Honestly, all I could say to everybody is just try to take every day for the beauty that it is. And if there's anything that you can do to honor yourself today, just make sure that you take the time for yourself that you need and try to get out in nature. That would be my biggest thing to anybody listening to this right now. And that I
So
love
I'm gonna
you.
press stop right there and I'll say goodbye. Hang on.